Welcome to a new season of cycling on TNT Sports. We've new names, new and old faces, different jerseys, but the same passion. It's time for the Gruppetto. Yes, it's a new series of the show that will keep you up to date with all that happens on the road all season long. Here on TNT Sports, we're going to have wall-to-wall racing for both women's and men's pelotons. There's so much on that you might miss a bit. That's why we're here every week throughout the season. We'll be at the back of the bunch on television and on YouTube, ready to keep you rolling with a recap of anything you might have failed to notice going on at the front. Racing's been going on for a couple of weeks now, so we'll begin this year with an early season recap.
Adelaide, South Australia hosted the World as new teams following the promotion and relegation cycle, a merger, retirements and career beginnings all mixed at the Tour Down Under. When Sam Watson won the prologue on a hot evening in the city centre, hopes and dreams were still intact at the start of a 2026 that will doubtless include twists and turns for everyone. However, after an opening sprint win for Danish fast man Tobias Lund, it will be new year, same old UAE. Adam Yates setting up a Jay Vine and Jonathan Narvaez demonstration on corkscrew. The Australian former winner took the Ochre leader's jersey on stage 2. Sam Welsford made it another Aussie win 24 hours later, holding on when other fast finishers had been dropped. But Ecuadorian star Narvaez suffered a nasty crash on a shortened stage 4. The race moved because of the extreme heat and bushfire risk, but the risk of injury unfortunately is always there. And the 2025 overall winner had to abandon the race, ending it in hospital, suffering fractured vertebra. Ethan Vernon won that stage, taking the new NSN team's first win. On the final day, leader Vine had to beat the test of the bunch and a kangaroo. The resulting crash failed to stop Vine from holding on, as Matthew Brennan took his maiden 2026 success on the stage. Vine securing the overall, a second TDU crown of his career. More bushfires forced a week-long wait for the bunch before they could race again in Australia. The Surf Coast Classic was cancelled because of the emergency in the state of Victoria, but once racing resumed, Tobias Lund went on to win the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race for Decathlon after beating Visma's Brennan to the line. The Women's World Tour opened with 3 days of racing around the Adelaide Hills. Coming with speed into the new season from across the Tasman, though, was Kiwi rider Ali Wollaston. Last year's Tour of Britain winner took the honours on the opening day in Willunga, before backing that up a day later in another group with 30 or so riders. The final stage saw 2 ascents of Corkscrew Hill on a blazing hot Aussie summer's day. The race was in bits. Here's Joe Rousel with a grand finale.
Naomi Ruick goes through the centre in the pink jersey. The defending champion is going to take a huge victory here in Australia, backing up her win from last year. She has done it. She's done the impossible. 3 versus 1.
Whilst Hug would take the overall in South Australia, Wollaston was back on form as the bunch moved to Victoria. The Kiwi winning in Geelong for the 2nd season running. What a start to the year for her FDJ Suez team. In Europe, Tour de France star Maëva Skibon found her winning form for the first time since that dream summer last year, outperforming the mighty Marlen Reusser on the climb to Puig de San Salvador. UAE ADQ taking Trofeo Felanich, the first of 3 one-day races on the Balearic island of Mallorca. The following day's action came at the Trofeo Jugmajor, and it would see British success. Cat Ferguson, the best of a group of 4 across the line. Spanish team Movistar getting their win on home soil. It was back to a punchy finale in Andratx for the last of the 3 women's challenge races, but Movistar's star of the day, Liana Lippert, wouldn't be able to do it. The German was beaten to the line by UAE ADQ's Dutchwoman Caroline Swinkels. It was the 27-year-old's first win in almost a year.
After a day of rest here on the Mediterranean island, racing resumed in Mallorca The first of 5 men's one-day trophies took place over the hill there in Calbia.
The weather wasn't so Mediterranean. Wet, windy and wild. But that didn't deter Antonio Morgado, who on his 22nd birthday beat Hector Alvarez to victory. Alvarez pulled off a breakout performance. The 19-year-old, competing for the Spanish national team and yet to turn pro, finished second out of a field full of stars. But Morgado continued UAE's strong start to the season. Trofeo Ses Salinas was contested as a team time trial for the first time ever. Movistar looked like the team to beat until Red Bull BORA hansgrohe took to the start. A couple of seconds up at the intermediate check, and with hard work into the headwind on the way back, they ensured that Remco Evenepoel's life in his new team colours would get off to the perfect start. Evenepoel has been captain of his own craft ever since turning pro, but the transfer has clearly given him wings. A day after taking a team success, the Belgian took off with over 50 kilometres remaining in the Trofeo Tramontana. After attacking on the penultimate climb, Remco ran riot on the descent and on the flat before holding a 2-minute advantage on the final ascent to the finish. Next up was the Trofeo Andrach Poyensa, and we'd see more of the same story.
There's a gap, and Evenepoel rides away. Cadel doing his best to fight, but the gap opens up. Evenepoel's done the damage, and that, with 2.5 kilometres to go, looks like being that again. Another finish line up in sight. His third in 3 days. It's a hat-trick for Remco Evenepoel in Mallorca. Another job well done.
Staying with Red Bull BORA hansgrohe, and Arne Marit is a new member of the squad. At the start of Sunday's Trofeo Palma, the Belgian sprinter told us he was on lead-out duty for his young 19-year-old teammate Alessio Magagnotti.
We also have one fast guy, Magagnotti. He is first year U23, and he showed some really good things on training. So probably we will go for him in the sprint today. But yeah, the sprint is for sure hectic. So we just have to see and how he feels. He's just 19 years old, so there's also a lot of pressure for him. But if he feels good, then we go for Magagnotti, and then I do lead out.
Up against big favourite Dylan Groenewegen and plenty of others, a late incident meant that Marit then had to enforce a change of plan.
And Leitau's at the front. He can't hit the front though. It's Red Bull BORA hansgrohe going to do it. The head in the air, the arm in the air. It was a messy finale, and it is Arne Marit who does it.
After choosing the island for their winter training, the German squad closed out a remarkable week on Mallorca, winning 4 out of the 5 races. Evenepoel took 3 of those, and he's 3 out of 3 now in Red Bull BORA hansgrohe colours. But can he threaten Pogacar and Vingegaard's recent dominance of the Tour de France? We'd love your opinion on just how far Remco can improve in his new team. Post your comments, as always, in the comments section below.
The UCI Pro Tour began in the desert and began in fine fashion for Jonathan Milan. The little Trek man will return to the Giro this May, and his build-up started with not 1, but 2 sprint victories in the AlUla Tour. Yanis Voisin picked up Tudor Pro Cycling's first win of the season, in which they'll possibly contest all 3 Grand Tours for the first time, taking the leader's jersey at Bir Jayda Mountain Wickra. Jan Christen was in a small group at 6 seconds back, and after Milan was beaten by compatriot Matteo Malucelli on stage 4, UAE Emirates' Christen would do the job on the final day. The 21-year-old Swiss's first success in almost a calendar year also brought him his first overall general classification win. Back in Europe now, and the first race on the calendar in France is the Grand Prix de Marseille. After various attacks had been brought back, it ended in a big bunch sprint. Here's Matt Stevens to call it home.
Kubic looks as if he's blocked in, opening things up in the centre now. That looks like it is Jenthe Berman's leading out. Brian Cockard has become into the last 100 metres. Cockard on the left-hand side. Kubic in the centre gets bold. Cockard on the left. Looks like it's going to take, but in the centre, no, Cockard it is who takes the win for confidence. Brian Cockard takes his first win of the year on the opening race of the French season.
This coming week's big appointment will be at the UAE Tour. Here's Hannah Walker with more.
Cheers, Rob. Yeah, the 4th edition of the UAE Tour Women gets underway on Thursday. 4 stages long, 3 stages for the sprinters. However, do not be fooled when you see a flat parcours in the UAE and one that you expect to finish in a bunch sprint, because if it's windy and there are crosswinds or there's a cross tailwind, it can wreak havoc. We can see echelons form, we can see big splits start to open up, we can see some of the key contenders either for a bunch sprint or indeed the general classification get caught on the wrong side of a split. They lose a huge chunk of time and things can really turn on their head. So you've got to be a rider who is very comfortable in the crosswinds, who knows exactly how to ride in an echelon if indeed the wind does blow. But if you're a sprinter and you are a great classics rider, these are the stages that are perfect for you. So we're thinking of the likes of Lorena Wiebes, who has already won 6 stages at the UAE Tour Women. She won 3 stages, all 3 possible stages that she could win last year, she did. So she's looking to try and make a repeat of that this year. She's going to have a strong opposition, however, from Laura Gillespie, the Irish woman who is racing for the home team of UAE Team ADQ, so big ambitions for her to try and win a stage, and she's been phenomenal over the past year, hasn't she? And the Cuban rider for me, Arlena Sierra at Movistar, who's made her return to racing after giving birth to her child. She was brilliant in Challenge Mallorca, and I expect very much the same in the UAE Tour. Now, on a general classification side, the big day is the final stage, on which will finish on the top of Jebel Hafid. Last year and in the previous years, it's always been the penultimate stage, whereas this year it's the final stage. And it's a brutal climb, it's very demanding, it's over 10 kilometres long, some really steep gradients, double digits in places, and Elisa Longo-Borghini is back to try and defend her title, but again, she's going to have strong opposition from Marlene Reusser of Movistar, also Monica Trinca-Coronel. Watch out for the Italian from Liv AlUla Jaco, but also other riders like Anna van der Breggen from SD Works Pro Time, but nevertheless, it looks set to be a cracking edition.
As well as the UAE Tour Women, men's racing continues in Spain next week with the Volta a la Comunitat Valenciana. Adam Blythe will join me on commentary for that. Plus, you can also watch the European Track Championships from Turkey. It's live and on demand on TNT Sports and Discovery+. So we're underway. Bring on the rest of the season. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.